right? And then what happens after a double bottom? Look at that chart. It went up a lot. Where are we right now? Another double bottom, right? And so you look at these technical patterns, and to me, the technicals don't mean an awful lot because I'm not a trader.
Okay.
Right? In the sense of trading for a living, making money on these small things, right? I'm an investor where you buy, you don't hold forever, but you follow and identify the trend. So always look at the fundamentals, look at the supply and demand. To me, this is where the markets are headed, is the narrative is shifting fundamentally to, let's stop listening to this noise about interest rates and inflationary pressures, which is what we're seeing right now. I mean, I think it was Goldman Sachs or JP Morgan, sorry, this morning thinks oil's probably going to hit $128 a barrel.
It's great to have Dr. Elliott with us once again, amweknow.com/gold in the description box below. So much going on every week. It's hard to keep up with it all in our news segments, but we're glad to have you back to bring some sanity into all of this, especially when it comes to precious metal. August is almost here. That's the month that you gave us the update a couple of weeks ago. We'd see silver and precious metals probably skyrocket according to most banks out there and more. And so anyway, great to have you back for another update.
It's so good to be with you. And boy, bringing sanity in an insane world is getting more difficult. But really, how do you get sanity in an insane world? By finding your true source of peace, right? And deciphering the madness and saying, where are we really headed? And what's going on? And how can you protect yourself, right? I mean, that's where sanity can come from when everybody's making like the weirdest of decisions. I mean, to us, it's weird. To China, like we talked about last week with Project Enbridge and the Bank for International Settlements. Okay, what's that all about? It's about power and control. So it might seem insane to us, and to them, it's like, well, this is just logical. This is how we're going to control the masses, right? To them, it's normal. But so to take a quick step back to last week, Project Enbridge, this joint project between the BRICS nations and the Bank for International Settlements, was saying, we're going to set up different payment rails to get rid of the US dollar and not use the US dollar as a reserve currency. But what are the digital payment rails going to include? Anything, right? So it's like, all right, you could use gold, you could use silver, you could use the yen, you could use the euro, you could use whatever you want, right? That's the point. The point is, if you bring all kinds of choices on how countries settle with each other, it's going to diminish the demand for the US dollar.
Right.
Okay. So now take one step further into this week. And this, what's happening in Europe is like this rocket ship accelerating us to complete big brother command and control of your finances, right? Just if Project Enbridge last week wasn't enough to say, okay, the dollar is being dismantled, wait till you hear this one. I mean, so it's the digital euro project, right? That the European Union has been working on for a while. The European Central Bank is a practical alternative away from banknotes and coins. They're saying, all right, let's use the digital euro product and project to do what? To get away from dominance of American payment companies like Visa and MasterCard and American Express, and basically away from the dollar, right? So how do they do this, right? How are they going to use a digital euro to actually do that? Well, the European Parliament Committee on Economic and Monetary Affairs, they approved this digital euro legislation package by 43 votes to 14. So it's not like it was even close. So the European Parliament saying, yeah, we want to do this, and we want to have our own payment rails, not rely on the banking system of the West, right? So it's like, okay, I mean, so you want to get rid of the US dollar like Project Enbridge and the Bank for International Settlements like China did.
Right.
However, it gets weirder. I mean, so that in and of itself is like, of course, you want to have your own economic sovereignty, right? But
Mhm.
to do this, they're enticing citizens into something that the European Union is going to control. So this is a very protectionist approach in Europe. So what? Trump is protectionist of American interests too, right? So you're seeing all this negative globalist, community talk about this, but here's where it becomes dangerous. And where when this domino starts to fall and other countries and other continents are going to say, this is actually really a good idea what they're doing to protect their own currency, right? So according to this negotiating position in this parliamentary bill, it's not citizens, but rather the European Commission that's going to determine the maximum amount of digital euros that each person may hold, right? So imagine a world where you have 401ks or savings accounts at your bank or credit union, and you're saving up for retirement, and you've got this big nest egg, right? And it's like, this is part of the American dream, part of working hard, saving hard, playing hard, whatever choice you want. So under this bill, guess what the maximum amount that a European citizen can actually hold in cash?
Mm-hmm.
$3,500. Well, 3,500 euros, right? That's it.
That's it.
It. So they're forcing you to not have savings, right? Because why? Well, they want to control your life from cradle to grave. And they want to say, you don't have enough cash to fall back on. You can only hold 3,500. Oh, and by the way, they want to outlaw cash holdings and coin holdings and say, you can only have a digital euro. That's it. And then they're going to limit the maximum amount that you can have. But don't worry, you can collect interest on it. So what do they want you to do? They want you to take your money, invest it into the system, invest it into a broken system, right? But you can't hold too much cash, right? So in addition to people, companies will not be allowed to maintain digital euro balances for more than 24 hours.
Oh, wow.
More than 20. So therefore, companies can't hold on to a euro position. I mean, view this, I'm saying euros because this is a European thing, but it would be the same as a US company just holding dollars, because they want to spend money on a capital improvement project or expand their inventory build. And they're just saving up because they're not quite ready yet. You can't hold it for more than 24 hours. So nobody in Europe can actually have treasury management anymore. Now, this becomes really interesting because you're going to get yield on it. So like the Chinese system, what is the European Union doing? They're saying there's a possibility that we'll give you higher limits in exchange for surrendering more personal data and accepting less privacy. Here's where they're sucking people into saying it's almost like universal basic income, right? It's like, how do you entice people into a system which is, central bank digital currency, which I think is like the mark of the beast. It's like, how could Christians anywhere see this, where they have the ability to cut you off from your money because of your social policies, whatever. It's like, how about if it's tied to your Social Security, your retirement, your Medicare, your Medicaid? Even Christians would say, a lot of them who don't understand what this actually is would say, okay, we'll take it. We need income to survive. So in the European Union, they're saying, you give up a bunch of your personal data and we'll give you more interest rate.
Oh,
right. So in the end, this digital euro project, it doesn't liberate Europe. It doesn't modernize it or make payments even more convenient, right? What does it do? It changes who controls it from American companies and people controlling their own money to the European Central Bank and to the European Parliament. See, to me, this is a precursor of, you better get used to your money being divorced from you because of your views.
Yeah.
because of your ideology. I mean, this kind of stuff is becoming so plain and in sight, yet how many people are complaining about it?
Yeah, especially with the rise of illegal migration and what it's doing to Europe, and they're doing all they can to keep that shut so that the folks can continue to come in and destroy the country.
I
All
know.
the countries over there.
Yeah. I mean, it's this command and control economic juggernaut is bearing down on the world very quickly. And so then we have to ask ourselves, well, how in the world do you protect yourself from this, right? And this is what we've been talking about for years. Physical precious metals are a great way to get out of the system. It's not digital.
Yeah.
It's not tied to your bank account. There's actually zero counterparty risk. And, you're going to get growth and safety. It's like, well, Kurt, we haven't had growth, really a lot of it since January 30th when silver hit its peak. Right. And so, but yet on a technical side, yeah, we corrected. It came down, it consolidated, it's moving sideways for a bit, an accumulation phase. This is like what I would call a consolidation accumulation phase, because you can get in at half the price what it was on January 30th.
That's right.
Right. But it's like, could it go down or is it going to go up? I get this question every single day, dozens of times. It's like, well, I'm not God and I don't control the markets. I don't know from day to day if it's going to go up or down. I don't know if it's going to be up tomorrow or down tomorrow. It kind of depends on what's happening in Iran. Right?
Right.
I mean, that's really what it boils down to. But technically, this is what I want to look at. Let's look at the technical charts, right? So you look at this chart for silver futures. It had its peak and it's came back down. It has wiped away all of that excess overbought status to a point where now it's like, technically speaking, we're like at a bottom, right? So could it go down a little bit tomorrow? Could it go up? Sure. However, when you're looking at technicals like traders do, traders look at these fundamental entry points and exit points to any market because they're looking at charts.
Right.
The charts tell us this is really a great time to buy. Right now, what's another signal that they look at from a technical charting standpoint, right? And that's this next chart that I want to show everybody. It's a double bottom formation, right? So when something corrects, it hits a bottom, it goes up a little bit, kind of tricks everybody, comes down again, hits a double bottom, and those two bottoms are generally around the same level, right? And then what happens after a double bottom? Look at that chart. It went up a lot. Where are we right now? Another double bottom, right? And so you look at these technical patterns, and to me, the technicals don't mean an awful lot because I'm not a trader.
Okay.
Right? In the sense of trading for a living, making money on these small things, right? I'm an investor where you buy, you don't hold forever, but you follow and identify the trend. So always look at the fundamentals, look at the supply and demand. To me, this is where the markets are headed, is the narrative is shifting fundamentally to let's stop listening to this noise about interest rates and inflationary pressures, which is what we're seeing right now. I mean, I think it was Goldman Sachs or JP Morgan, sorry, this morning thinks oil's probably going to hit $128 a barrel. Right? It's like, that's inflationary, right? And so, but yet what's happening fundamentally is people's perception is starting to turn into reality. And people's perception is maybe this conflict goes on for another 5 years. Maybe this doesn't end next week or tomorrow or next month. What if this goes on for years and years and years? See, then the fundamentals actually matter. Is the supply and demand part of it actually still intact? Well, of course. The longer we go on, the more demand outpaces mining production. There's going to be less supply and prices will go up. People are starting to think like this, right? And people are starting to become less sensitive to the noise. So a good way to put that into perspective is remember 9/11, right? So 9/11, the towers came down. What was the response to that? markets shut down, the economy stunk. We got the Patriot Act. It was like this loss of our freedoms. It started, TSA and the Department of Homeland Security.
Right.
All this, and loss of our freedoms, and people were freaking out, right? It's like, we can't have this. This isn't complete intrusion on our travel, on everything. It's going to impact the way that we live. Well, now, do people actually think anything about the TSA other than it's annoying when you have to go through? But no, people forget about the loss of freedom that came from the Patriot Act, right? Because they were fighting this international war on terrorism. Yep. So that immediate response to an event that happened, ultimately in your mind, and maybe this is one of the ploys of the left, LT, is let's just have all these extreme things happen and desensitize people to things that happen. Because in time, it's just going to, where these extreme events, they're going to become normal.
Yeah.
And that's how I see all of this noise in Iran.
Yeah, that's where we just saw an interview recently where a reporter asks, I think it was Elon Musk, you guys you're promoting far right extremists or far right people, and he's like, no, I'm helping normal people. You're the ones that came up with that whole, agenda of labeling far right when we're just normal. We want the fraud to stop. We want Americans to vote. That's normal. You guys are calling us far right because we want normal things done. And so that's how they trick the minds, and they get people to start thinking like that so that they forget how normal is. And so, yeah, very interesting how that all ties together with this also.
It does. And the reason I bring all of that up is to just paint a picture of the talking points since January 30th on the financial world and on gold and silver. It's all been tied to inflation, interest rates, the noise, right? But you're starting to see this has been going on for so long. The longer it goes on, the more normal it is in people's minds. And people start to look at the fundamentals of the markets, why they make decisions, why they invest the way that they do. And the noise becomes a whisper. And then it ultimately just kind of goes away. I see us at that. We're almost at that point, probably in the precious metals complex.
Right.
And the charts would kind of tell us that too. We hit a double bottom and looks like we're about to go up. So I just wanted to encourage everybody that noise ultimately dissipates. Technically speaking, this is a great time after we've hit this consolidation for a while. The fundamentals truly, truly matter.
Yeah. What do you have to say to the folks that still have their IRAs tied up in fiat money and haven't brought over to precious metals real quick before we go?
I mean, that's where most people actually have their wealth tied up, is in retirement plans.
Right.
And the economy stunk for a bit, and people are just kind of living month to month, and there's not a lot of excess. But you know what? They have a lot maybe tied up because they've been working their whole lives in 401ks or their IRAs. I would encourage you, roll them over, right? You don't stay in fiat. Don't stay in a system that your gut is telling you this system is broken. I don't trust the banks. Yeah. I don't trust that we're actually being told the truth on most things, right? So what's the asset with zero counterparty risk? Physical gold and silver. You can roll over your IRA into physical metals.
Right.
Stored for your physical gold, in the form of 1 ounce bars or kilo bars, in silver, in 100 ounce bars, 10 ounce bars, or 1 ounce generic refinery rounds.
Yeah.
So that's how you can get out of the system, allocate that over. Now, if it's an IRA or has IRA in its name, traditional IRA, Roth IRA, simple SEP, inherited, right? You can, if it has IRA in the name, it's an easy rollover. If you've got a 401k, you have to actually retire or be terminated from that job unless you're 59 and a half. If you're 59 and a half or older and you're still working at a company with a 401k, you can roll the entire balance out. You just keep the 401k open, but you could bring it to a zero balance and roll it into a traditional IRA. That's a tax-free rollover where you could go into physical metals. So I would say, LT, that's probably 70% of the business that people invest into precious metals comes from retirement plans. because a
Mhm.
lot of times they just don't have it outside of that. But don't
Right.
worry, you can do it in your retirement plan.
Awesome. Awesome. And we know.com/gold in the description box below. You click on that link, they'll have the phone number also, and just call in and you'll get all the information and support that you need, including prayer. And that's one of the big ones we really love about you guys is the support you give everybody, especially when it comes to our lives and how we deal with things every single day. We certainly appreciate all of you, and we look forward to the next update.
Awesome. Thank you so much.